mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
So back in the salad days of Stupid Cancer, my first office was actually someone else's. A friend of mine ran an ad agency who gave me the dignity of a desk and a 212 phone number and a zip code in Midtown Manhattan. And that's the origin of Stupid Cancer as far as an office goes. But along the way, I met a gentleman who worked there named Ron Allen, who I'm still in touch with. And Ron introduced me to someone named Jordan Rathkopf, who had recently gotten married to a woman named Anna. And shortly after I met Jordan and Anna, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I had the terrible privilege of being there for them as soon as they needed me to help them navigate the nonsense and get through some of the crazy fuckery. And they're joining me today here in studio for an amazing conversation about what it's like to be not 80 with cancer, raising children, having a job, the art of survivorship. They've been doing exhibitions of their photos and have a brand new book called Her Too out that catalogs their story through images. It's very powerful, and I'm thrilled to have them here on the show. So without further ado, let's get started. Hey guys, welcome to Out of Patience. I just started the show. You can speak now.
Oh, okay.
Welcome.
Welcome.
I'll keep that part.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks,
All right.
Matt.
My favorite thing to do is deconstruct crazy Jewish last names. Whoever came up with KOPF as part of a Rathkopf. What was that like growing up? Horrible?
Yeah, it was really bad. It was usually Rathkopf.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I got a lot, Rathkopf. And I always have to spell it even to this day if I'm on the phone.
Yeah.
Only in America. I have no issue in Czech. Talking with
Looks like you got to leave the country, bro.
I'm going to have to leave the country if
Yeah.
people know my name.
Wait, what was your maiden name, Anna?
Svetla.
Okay, so you got was that a downgrade or an upgrade to Rathkopf?
I
Side
don't know.
grade?
Well, Svetla means light.
Okay.
So that was kind of nice. Rathkopf
Means death and hell and
something
rotting
head.
carcasses. And,
Well, she actually has a
I
theory.
think it's Rathkopf. I think somebody was like redheaded,
okay.
you know?
Clearly with his, bald head on the radio,
It
no one
used to
knows.
be red. It used to be red.
Really?
Like my beard.
Yeah.
Like
that's
ginger?
what-
Yeah, I was a ginger.
Oh, wow.
My grandfather.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew?
I'm telling you, Rathkopf.
Ginger Jews?
Ginger
Ginju.
Jews. Ginju.
I'm gonna trademark that here on the air. You heard it here first. Oh my God. I want to all things aside, I have to let the listeners know, Jordan, our origin story, because it's just kooky and amazing. And you were there when? And I want your perspective. And so the dime store for the listeners is that when I started I'm Too Young for This, which then became Stupid Cancer, I was working out of my second bedroom in a small house in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. And I was just so desperate for the dignity of like a 212 phone number and a 10001 zip code. I went to Google, which apparently existed in some form in 2007. And I just looked for like ad agencies. Maybe there's someone that would adopt me. Seriously. And sure enough, I found this agency called Mirrorball, founded by this great guy named Michael Blatter, who I'd rather have Rathkopf than Blatter. God bless you. Mike, you're not listening, but if you are, I love you. And he sort of like took me under his wing, like a younger brother. Actually, he had a younger brother with a heart condition. He related to the young adult cancer cause. And he let me use the Mirrorball offices. I had the dignity of a desk and meetings and a zip code. And there was a guy there named Ron. What was his name?
Ron Allen.
Ron Allen, who I maintained a relationship with. And years later, I was like, you got to meet this guy named Jordan Rathkopf. I was like, all right, tell me more. And that was it, right?
That's how we met.
Okay.
And we were actually working with you on a Stupid Cancer project.
Yes.
And that is when Anna was diagnosed.
So it's my fault.
It's your fault.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I always wanted to be in your club.
Yes.
You inspired her to
Yeah.
get cancer.
I have that effect on people.
You do.
Yeah, Jordan told me I met this amazing guy, Matt. You know, you should get cancer.
It was kind of crazy timing.
Well done. Good husbandry.
Because you were actually, for me, the first person to kind of be there for us outside of my network. So I have friends, family, but
Right.
I remember I was so scared and I was connected with you and you just made me feel so safe in a really vulnerable time. I just remember feeling, wow, I'm really lucky in some ways that as bad as this situation is, I found a community.
Did you have a lump or something? What did I do to you?
I had lump. I found it.
On your own?
On my own.
Shower, self-exam?
No self-exam. I actually went to a doctor like 3 months before to my OBGYN. And I asked him, I was like, so I'm like, my friend had cancer. And he goes, no, you're young. You will be healthy. You're okay. Don't worry about it. And then I found it. I was like laying down on my bed and I scratched my breast. And that's when I found it 3 months later. And I called the doctor and he told me it's probably nothing. Just I don't have a space anyway. So
He shrugged you off?
Yeah, like 2 months. He was like, oh, so set an appointment 2 months later.
That's some great bedside manner.
Wonderful.
That was amazing.
Luckily, my sister is an oncologist. And when we told her that, she said, there is no way you should be waiting 4 months to get a lump looked at.
All right, so this speaks to me in two ways. You happened to know me, and you happened to have a sister who's an oncologist. Mm-hmm. That's very rare.
Very rare.
You didn't need Google.
Did not need Google.
I did.
And I also had a mother who had cancer when I was a child. So when I was 11, 12, my mom was diagnosed when she was 47. And that was kind of what led my sister to becoming an oncologist.
Wow. So you had me in some sense. You had his sister, his mom, with the regrettable experience, but probably proved helpful at this point.
Yeah.
What did you need to Google? Actually, before you answer that, how long did it take you to actually get to see that doctor, or did you see someone else?
No, I actually went to see somebody else.
Good.
I didn't even like try anymore. When somebody dismisses you immediately, like off the jump, like you call and they're like, oh, don't worry about it. I worried. So, yeah, I actually went to see pretty soon.
Like 3 weeks.
Yeah, something like that.
Wow, that's very proactive.
Yeah.
You seem like a natural self-advocate in general.
I was really scared. I had like this horrible feeling because it wasn't there before. Our son was 2.5. And I don't know, like I just like, my stomach dropped. That's when I went to Google. I asked, hey, Google, I have a lump in my breast. Am I going to be okay? And Google disappointed. It was like, no.
It sent you like funeral websites.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was over.
It showed me like everything, like the worst things ever. Like
life insurance, buyouts.
It was awful.
Reverse mortgage.
It was absolutely awful.
Finding new partners.
Yeah. No, it was a death wish. So then,
good old Dr. Google.
Yeah, I didn't go to Google afterwards because it didn't tell me I will be okay.
Scarred for life.
Yeah. I mean, it was supposed to tell me you're going to be okay. Don't worry, it just happens. You have lumps in your body normally, right?
Well,
yeah.
We kind of, we had a good friend who she was the same age when Ani found her lump, had a 3-year-old at the time. And she was like the healthiest person we knew. And I remember when she got sick, I was like, I can't believe she got cancer. Like, what bad luck. But that really stuck with us, that like a seemingly healthy person without family history could actually get cancer. At that point, we were fortunate that no one else in our circle at that age really had. But having a friend go through that, it did seem like a very real possibility. And that's, I think, why we were so aggressive in trying to get...
And your mom, too.
Yeah, but my mom was 47, which to me felt...
We thought she was really old.
Yeah, that seemed to me at the time it's really old. Now it doesn't seem old, but like... At that time, I was like, that seemed old.
Yeah, like when I turned the age my dad was when I was sick, which was 47, and I'm 51 now. It's like, all right, that's it. Time's over.
Yeah. Really old.
Time's over.
Yeah, exactly.
My knee
Really
hurts.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, right?
All right, so lumpectomy, puncture, what was the, like, now it's real?
Yeah, now they tell me I have cancer, and then you're waiting, right? I didn't expect that I will be waiting. I thought, like, like what I knew before was like, oh, you have cancer, so you start treatment. And they actually told me there are different types of cancer. And that depends what type of cancer you have, your treatment will be. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And they had to send the sample, and now you're waiting for like a month. And
really? A month?
Well, they sent it in and they couldn't tell if she had HER2 or not, which is an aggressive protein.
Right.
And it looked like she had it, but they wanted to double check because if she had it, that meant they were going to recommend chemo. They were originally thinking maybe she could just do a lumpectomy and radiation. And then when they saw it was HER2, they wound up suggesting kind of the full plate of
Jordan
treatment.
remembers more because I was really traumatized.
Well, you probably checked out mentally, right?
Yeah, well, also like I received a phone call when I was at work, right? And the person that did the biopsy just called me and she was like, do you have 5 minutes? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Who doesn't have 5 minutes on a call? And she goes, well, you have cancer.
Great bedside manner, part 2.
And I was like, and she's like, are you okay? Over the phone. And I'm like, no.
No.
And since then, I couldn't pick up phone calls when I saw the number of the hospital. Mm-hmm. That was it. I was like, Jordan, you pick up.
So no more Google, no more cell phones.
No more cell phones.
What else are you getting rid of?
That's it.
I've said this on the air before, but it's worth repeating that I was told I had brain cancer on a blinking answering machine.
Oh, that's
my
good.
God.
Real story.
That's kind.
So I got scanned, went out to lunch with my mom, got back to the house, blinking answering machine. I'm so old.
I know.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that.
It's like, hi, Mr. Greenswag. That's my legal last name. We found something in your brain. Please come back. It looks pretty bad. Beep.
oh my God. Your mom must have loved that message.
Oh, she took it really, really well.
Yeah.
That drive back to the hospital was fantastic.
That had to be amazing.
She's probably very level-headed.
It was probably the same person.
Yeah, right. It was the same person.
I think they just moved from answering machine to cell phone.
Yes.
Right? It's so much easier to get the people.
I just can't believe the time span between it's definitely this and now we have to start something. That is just so unacceptable.
Yeah.
It was really bad. And then also the problem was that because I was working freelance at the time, but she had a 9-to-5 job. Yeah. And so...
And a 2.5-year-old.
And a 2.5-year-old. And so we had to, like, whatever the treatment was going to be was actually going to be kind of a big deal with her employment, trying to navigate it. So even that extended wait made it harder to even kind of coordinate with the work that she had. It was just there was a lot of things going on in that first month that were really over. That's why when I met with you, it was just like, oh my God, thankfully we met someone that I can understand what we're going through.
But this reinforces the narrative we had 20 years ago when young adult cancer meant like 15 to 40. Mm-hmm. And people would ask, well, why are you so special? Literally speaking of empathy. And like, well, we're not special. We're just different.
Right.
Yeah.
And how are you different? Well, our ovaries and testicles work. That's how we're different, right?
That's
there you
so
go.
true.
Right?
That's so
we
true.
have jobs. We have kids. It's just different, right? And here's a case study, like a perfect example. Like you have a job. You have a child. You're married. You're supposed to be adulting with style.
Exactly.
Yeah, we were actually trying to have a second child at the time that she was diagnosed. And so
it went like really crazy. It was like from like thinking about, I remember I went to ultrasound when they were doing the biopsy ultrasound. And that was the first time that I was in ultrasound like for pregnancy, right? You always hear the heartbeat and I'm like in this black room, ultrasound is on my breast and it's quiet and they're looking for my lump. Mm-hmm. I was just such a shock.
Right.
You know, because 2 years before I was there and heartbeat,
under good
baby.
circumstances.
Exactly.
Were you upset? This always bothered me that it's called her too, like HER.
Oh my
what are the
God.
odds that who are the ad wizards that came up with this?
You have to be kidding me. Like when the doctor told me, I was like, seriously? That's how you name that?
Yeah.
Like her too? Like for guys, you have him too.
Yeah.
You know, that's what somebody like some scientist. I'm imagining the scientist is like, oh, new cancer. Oh, and it's for women. Awesome. Let's call it her too.
Yes. Well, like, it should have been called like, fuck me too.
Yeah. Fuck me too. Fuck you too.
Lewis Black had a bit with this 3 stages of anger, which is like, Jesus Christ, goddamn, and fuck me. So which one were you?
I was like, I guess the third one. Yeah, that's what I felt.
So then you get in the club, you have surgery, you have a mastectomy.
I had lumpectomy.
Lumpectomy,
I was ready to have a full mastectomy, but the doctor told me that if she cuts off, she cannot grows it back. Like it doesn't grow back.
What, your breast doesn't grow back?
Yeah, she meant my breast.
Really?
Like a lizard leg?
like a chia pet.
Like a
So she was like being nice. She's like, once we cut, it's gone.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, what do you think? And she goes, well, let's try it. So I'm like, okay, so let's try the lumpectomy then.
Okay. So you got out, you got off. That was your...
Yeah, I got it out.
Spared your femininity.
Yeah, that was great.
So you went on, what, Herceptin or something?
I had chemo. I went to Taxol and Herceptin.
Okay.
But...
Another one with HER, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's
Not
her.
Hemceptin.
Yeah.
They-septin.
No. Yeah, it's Herceptin.
Herceptin.
Herceptin. Yeah, it's like... it's pink. It's all pink.
Of course it is.
It's all wrapped up in pink.
Were you totally nauseated about all the pink that befell you, I'm sure?
Look at me.
Yes.
How much pink do you see? I actually like pink on my shoes and stuff.
You're
but
more of
like,
a purple person. We're
I'm
like
a purple.
We're New York black. That's
Yeah.
kind of our
Yeah.
that's our go-to.
Right.
I don't go like pink skirts.
I think that was actually part of the problem we had originally was
Yeah.
that what we knew so much of cancer, especially breast cancer, was this kind of pink, whatever you'll call it.
Everything's pink.
And we did not feel like that kind of person or those kinds of people. And that added, I think, to our feeling of isolation was that what we were experiencing did not feel like what we were seeing in the marketing health space.
Oh, yeah. This
Yeah.
goes back to stop showing smiling, happy cancer patients in breast cancer commercials.
Yeah.
Please
Yeah.
don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the opposite of like the most tragic, helpless.
Yeah.
The St. Jude breast cancer
Yeah.
commercials.
Yeah.
It's like both of those just, we didn't fit in. And
Because
so,
you either die or you walk in the sunset on a beach, hands to hands. That's what you do.
Well,
That's
on that note, let's take a break and all praise pharma advertising. I make fun of pharma ads all the. They're almost too easy to make fun of. And as of this taping, it's early November. I saw an ad for Keytruda, which is Merck's big block. It's a great groundbreaking. It works in like 25 different cancers. But my God, the website was 90 seconds long. No pharma commercial should be 90 seconds long. But I swear to you, I want to find that on YouTube and just make fun of it on some platform. Like 45 seconds of side effects. 45. My wife and I are like, they keep going. It's like Energizer Bunny side effects. And then, of course, they end with death.
yeah.
yeah,
Right.
of course.
God.
That's the ultimate side
I like how
effect.
they speed up the voice. The
Yes.
voice gets really fast, right? When they have to go through all the side effects.
Yes, if you can't afford your meds, Merck will help you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got to get through
And
it quick.
you will die.
But they got to make sure they say it.
Yeah.
I mean, those ads were horrible. And even just what we were seeing in the hospitals
Yeah.
themselves and just like the visual language of cancer and illness
Feels so off.
Yeah.
felt
It just
really
feels off.
alienating to us.
Well, again, it speaks to that there's really no empathy in the situation.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. Like, can they have empathy? Can there even be the perception of empathy? Ideally from your care team, and maybe not in your case this time, but certainly not in the marketing around the medications during the hospitals. It's just so austere and apathetic, right?
Yeah, it was so off-putting that I actually didn't even want to pick up any of the flyers. Like, I didn't want to read anything because I just saw a woman smiling with the perfect makeup and a scarf. And the best part is sometimes
And the
from the
scarf.
scarf, you can see hair coming out. I mean, why do you have a scarf if you have hair? Like sometimes you can see it. And the iron scarf, yeah.
It's like very dehumanizing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in trying to create this generic experience of illness that's, I guess, can avoid regulations or whatever the reasons are that they're trying to do it. The problem is it actually, the population you're trying to reach, I think, it further alienates a lot of us.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
So I want to touch on the whole caregiver issue. Kira, you are in a completely different role to your wife. What was that like for you in terms of, I mean, obviously upheaval of all things that you never expected to have, but from a parenting perspective, from a responsibility perspective?
I think what was really surprising to me about becoming a caregiver at 37 was, especially as a man, I really didn't expect to feel the way I was feeling. I felt this need to be really strong and be the wall of support and man up. And I felt a lot of pressure that actually up until that point, I never really had felt in that way. And then when she got sick, it was just strange. I felt like all of a sudden I was supposed to not have emotions, and what I was going through was kind of unimportant to help her.
Right.
And what I think started happening was over time, I really stopped taking care of myself mentally. And it really actually impacted my ability to be a good caregiver. And that's when I started needing to get help.
We used to do these workshops, I think they still do, called Caring for Yourself. Right. It's almost too easy to forget you exist when your responsibilities go to like 90% of that person.
Yeah, she died. But yeah, I mean, I think that's 100% it. And like us, and to your point about being a father with a young son and having experienced as a child myself, a mother who was sick, my family didn't talk about it when my mom was sick very much. Mm-hmm. And because we didn't talk about it, I didn't realize until Anna got sick how messed up I was a little bit from the stress of having a sick parent and not knowing if they'd be okay. So with our son, I felt a lot of pressure that I had to like step it up and create some kind of normal for my family. But while I was trying to do it, I was literally falling apart, like going to my car and crying every day.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was not handling caregiving as well as maybe I was projecting I was.
How did you explain this to your son?
We had like this kind of rule that one of us, when we felt overwhelmed, like took the kid out.
The kid, Jesse?
The kid.
He has a name.
So he was two,
Yeah,
he was two
small.
and a half. So I don't know that there was much. And looking back on it now, he was literally like speaking baby talk. He wasn't really.
Okay, so.
But we he could see. So what we
Yeah.
would do is like when she was starting to lose her hair, she didn't want to just lose it. So she wanted to shave it off.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
we made it like a hair shaving party.
He didn't care.
You
But-
look good bald, by the way. You got a good shaved scalp,
Thanks.
right? Isn't it lovely when people say that to you?
Yeah.
I don't
But you
get-
look great.
I don't get that often, but
No.
yeah,
You and I go to the same barber.
she got that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. They thought it was punk rock.
All jokes aside, she actually, when her employers decided to harass her for the first time as she was ending her chemo, they decided to like tell her that her performance wasn't focused.
But I looked pretty.
But they told her how good she looked.
Okay, well, that's something.
Yeah.
I feel like asking you, Jordan, because you are follically challenged as I am. Did people think you shaved your head to honor her?
They didn't, but I should have totally.
That would have been so awesome.
I
That
would've
would
won
be
so
so
many points.
awesome,
My
man.
poor Fabio hair is gone because of you.
Yeah, I know. We should have said that.
We should have said that. We still can.
What, Jordan?
That's right.
But you're still keeping it.
Yeah, I'm still in solidarity with her. I've decided to maintain the bald looks.
I look good bald. I'm glad I.
so that she won't have to be bald again. I'm
Yes.
going to
But
fall on the sword.
What
That's
he
great
really,
caregiving.
what he
It is
really
really-
did.
that is caregiving.
Do you remember? Like, I remember when I was about to start chemo, Jordan's mom brought a bag of wigs from her treatment. She
What?
had it hidden.
She kept her wigs.
Yeah, and they are all like 1990.
You're going to appreciate this. One looked a lot like Howard Stern's
Yeah,
hair.
Jordan put it
No.
on and he loved it.
And it actually looked
You
great.
could have gone to Carnival.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really was thinking
I
about
have it. I didn't throw it out.
I've been thinking about I actually really liked having a wig.
Like a Cher Turn Back
Yeah,
Time
exactly.
Battleship wig.
I'll show it. I have a picture
It's
of it.
actually
I'll show
the
you.
pictures in the book.
Yeah, it's really special.
Right, we should mention the book.
Right, the book.
Yeah, the
Right.
book.
So we should also let the listeners know that you are a professional photographer and talk about your early career, because I think it leads up to you've never thought you'd photograph your wife as a cancer patient. But where did you get started?
So I got started from my wife. Anna's uncle was a
Yeah.
famous photographer in Czech Republic, or at least a highly respected one. And he had taught her photography. And then she taught it to me maybe 20 years ago when we met.
Yeah.
So everything's your fault.
Everything's
everything.
me.
Actually, the cancer is
Except
my
you.
fault, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cancer's your fault.
Don't
but
forget that part.
Photography's her fault.
So you picked it up from her.
I picked it up from her. And then I don't know how I became a professional photographer, but I did. And I was doing a lot of photojournalism. And she was also a photographer, but just someone had to pay the bills and someone had
That
to get
was
the
me.
commercial insurance. And so Ani had a good job. So she kept it. And then, we were just documenting each other throughout her experience, throughout our experience. So I was photographing, but so was she. And together it became a visual conversation really between the patient and the caregiver.
Well, the book is called Her Too.
But
Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
How inspirational.
And trust me, we've been told not to call it her too by a lot of people.
Yeah.
You could have called it Us Two.
Us too.
Us too.
Anna and Anna plus Jordan.
Yeah.
Not Anna and Jordan.
No,
Anna plus
Anna
Jordan.
plus.
And you got a published, real publisher.
Real publisher.
Who's the publisher?
Daylight. It's a book publisher that focuses on fine art and documentary, especially around social issues.
Yeah.
And it's a photojournalistic book. We
Yeah.
should let
It is.
people know it's all pictures like a kid book. No, it's
It's a
really
coloring book.
beautifully like structured.
Thank you.
You know, the
Thank
language of the imagery, the flow of it was very intentional. I just love looking at it.
Thank you.
Where
Thank you.
can people get this book? We'll also wrap the show later on by
Yeah.
giving that URL in the show notes as well. But where can people check this book out?
Well, the book, you can go to her2book.com. her2book.com.
Right, not HERTO.
Right. Not,
It's
H-
number 2.
The
Number
number two.
two.
Yeah.
her2book.com. And you can check it out there. And we also have resources. And,
Yeah.
we really wanted to do this project because of what we mentioned earlier, which is that this inauthentic visual language around illness, we feel is actually very damaging and can be.
Yeah. We
And-
wanted to create something we didn't have.
Yeah, we wanted to create what
Yeah.
we wished we had, which was just a realistic depiction of everyday life with an illness.
Yeah.
And not just from one perspective, because, very often we have like the caregiver perspective or the person who's sick. I thought what I loved so much was what I learned from Anna's photos, because I realized I very rarely see the perspective of the person going through the illness. It's usually someone documenting them.
Right. Right. And it's also not a very, at all, a victimizing book.
No.
It's an empowering book, which can mean anything that's a throwaway word, but it really is evocative of authenticity. I'll give you a throwaway story real quick. I was at an ad agency giving a presentation, and before I got up there, the CEO got up and started extolling the virtues of a partnership with Shutterstock, that one of their pro bono initiatives, this goes back to the happy people at a cancer commercial,
Yeah.
they are going to replace their stock photos for all of their cancer images with real cancer patients, but they're not going to make them look sick.
Right.
So they could say not actor portrayal, right?
Right.
So it's
but
a-
they still happy people that are cancer survivors.
Like, you're happy when you get cancer. Like, I
It's
mean,
so
like,
elating.
So it's really
It's-
fun.
it's real fun. Like, it's the best time of your life.
We like to ride horses
I
on
like-
the beach
and
with
I-
a sunset when we're doing
And then
cancer.
when we got off the horses, I like when you kiss my forehead.
Or are you
that-
dancing on a pier
Yeah.
near a lake? Yes.
Oh, I know that one.
Yes, that's a great one.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Actually, you would like this commercial. It's on, is it stage 4 prostate cancer? For like really, like it extends life for like 3 weeks or something. And the guy and his wife go on a surfboard. They're on a beach surfing. Because that's what you do,
I can so relate to that.
right?
Yeah.
When you got 3 weeks left,
Yeah.
it's in California.
Go surfing.
go surf.
And it's in California.
I just go to Vegas and get like jacked, laid, stoned, broke.
And you also look
Go for
really
it.
tan and really strong, and you have like this big muscles.
But see, this is
even
the
though you're-
irony. Like, if we put ourselves together, I honestly think we'd come up with
Yeah.
such a good campaign. Like,
Right.
that would actually resonate, could have some humor even. It doesn't even, it would just ring true. And
But it's all lawyers, right? It's
Yeah.
all lawyers because, God forbid, you don't mention every side effect and the patient gets a side effect. They
Right.
could sue you for not
Yeah.
being disclosed that they could have the side effect.
Exactly. I mean, that is
Yeah.
the issue.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous.
Yeah, the legal implications of honesty is kind of disappointing.
So I've seen you exhibiting and showing your photos, exhibitions. Is that what they're called in your
Yeah.
in your world? They're called exhibitions, right? And I've seen you do a whole bunch of stuff. You've been traveling all around doing these things. Remind me if this is a nonprofit or you're just doing this out of the goodness of your heart.
No, this is connected to a nonprofit we started this year called the Patient Caregiver Artist Coalition. And it was inspired by our experience and just what we've learned from other people.
That's 11 syllables.
It's a lot. It's really hard to spell.
Okay.
PCAC is
That's what we
for
do.
short. But that's-
Pacus?
Pacus.
Okay.
Yeah, the naming wasn't.
That sounds like a drug you should be seeing an ad on TV for. Try Pacus. It'll extend your life by 6 minutes. Here's a surfboard.
But it makes you feel good.
Yes. Side effects may include, I don't know, color correction.
Yeah. I mean, like we've been traveling with it because we're trying to create conversations and we're trying to use art to bring people together who might not normally be brought together to talk about
Yeah.
things that we hope will point to productive conversations about how we can help the patient caregiver community.
And what's really interesting is like when we are showing it around, every person has a different attachment to a different image. Yeah. Like that people would show, I don't know, they see sometimes me and Jesse, or sometimes they see Jordan, and then they come to us and they tell us, oh, that was my dad. That just looks just like my dad, or this looks just like my mom.
Yeah, we were doing something at Duke Health, and a doctor came up to us and they just said, thank you, because I don't get to see my patients outside of like a gown and a curtain.
Right.
And this is making me think a little bit differently about how I want to approach the 20 minutes or less that I have with them in a consultation. I now see them more as real people, and thank you. And so that's what we're hoping to do is use this to create more empathy so that people can actually have a more empathetic doctor maybe for those 20 minutes where they're being told some of the scariest information they've ever heard. You know, it's nice to have...
And not told on a phone call or an answering machine.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because then the person will be thinking about it. Like, shall I call? Maybe I should call in the evening when the person's home.
Right.
You know, maybe surrounded by people. If I have to do it over the call.
And, you know, maybe because my sister's an oncologist, I do have a sensitivity also to the other perspective. You know, it's easy sometimes to just think about the patient perspective. But, you know, the nurses, the doctors, they have a lot of pressure on them too. And it's really tough. And so like we want to generate these conversations where we're each seeing each other's perspectives a little bit so that there's more understanding, so that hopefully everyone can feel a little bit more seen in this process.
I mean, I don't throw anyone under the bus because you don't know their real life circumstances, but I remember back years ago, there was like that ratemydoctor.com website that promptly got shut down because most people who gave bad ratings were because of wait times or rude people at the reception desk. Yeah. That has nothing to do with the doctor.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the empathy I try to put in there is, you know, these are people that have chosen to follow Hippocrates and do no harm. But maybe they had a bad day. Maybe they're just assholes.
Yeah.
But I would like to believe everyone that goes into medicine is well-intentioned.
Yeah,
and maybe they're
so.
just having a bad day. But we have to also think for another show, stress and anxiety, the nursing shortages, the crushing bullshit they have to deal with just in their practice every single day. Would you rather have an oncologist who is sort of a methodical mechanic or an empath?
Empath. I want somebody.
But they might not be as good as their job if they're an empath.
I don't know.
Can't we have both? This is my theory.
I don't need a machine.
You and your unicorn thinking.
Well, Ani had both. Like, so can I give a shout out to a specific doctor?
If only if they're listening.
Okay.
Dr. Dang from Memorial Sloan Kettering was Anna's doctor.
Dang.
And and I looked her up before because I wanted to see what the doctor was. And I saw an article about her, how she stays up every night at home to review her patient files so that she won't be looking at a screen when she's with them. And then when we met her, instead of 20 minutes, she gave us an hour 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she also happens to be one of the finest doctors.
Yeah, she was
at
really
the hospital.
sweet.
She was like leading some of the trials that blah, blah, blah. So I do think both. I think it should be a job requirement. I actually do. I think that should be a necessary part of the job. Like if you can't also be empathetic, then maybe it's not the right job for you, because ultimately...
I mean, you can be in research, right?
Let's get her on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's help her lead by example.
She really is
she's
special.
Amazing.
And I think, and my sister, I like to think, is like that as well. She's very kind.
She live here too?
She does. She lives in New York.
Is she a Rathkopf?
She's a Rathkopf.
She is.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think both can be accomplished. You know, I'm surprised to hear that you would prefer an empath, though, to a...
Yeah, like person who's nice. I want person who is nice. I'm dealing with like a horrible thing.
But what if they're nice and not as good as someone else?
Why wouldn't they be as good? Why does it have to be either or? Why does... Yeah, but I mean, like, you're a robot. You don't have to be nice either. You don't have to be good either. Just because you know how to, like, tell diagnosis doesn't mean that you're a good doctor. I think doctor has to be both.
I'll give an example to what you're talking about. So Anna's mother, unfortunately, a few years ago had a stroke, which then revealed that she also had cancer. And her doctor went to do
he was
surgery, and he's considered one of the best. I won't name anything else.
He's not coming on the show.
No.
And he might be one of the best surgeons, but he was very rude to us. And I called him and I said, listen, I hope you never have a doctor talk
Like
to
you?
you and your family if you're dealing with cancer the way you're talking to us. And it's just not acceptable to me.
Yeah, and he listened to you. He
And
didn't listen to me.
He actually did kind of improve his overall.
Wait, was he having a bad day or he was just that way?
He was known for being that way, but for whatever reason, he seemed to respond okay when I told him this is unacceptable.
Well, you yelled at him.
Yeah, I was really angry because, I think he was talking to me like I was dumber than I am. I was like, I don't know if you realize I've been dealing with cancer for a lot of my life in one way or another, and I understand a lot more than you think I do. And you're talking down to me, and I don't appreciate that.
It's very Miranda Priestley of him.
Yeah, exactly.
So where can people learn about your 11-syllable nonprofit?
The fastest way would be go to www.pcac.ngo.
NGO,
Yeah.
like non-government organization, like in Europe?
Yeah. We're going to change that. But for now, that's what we could get. We launched this year. It's actually been going really well. We have some really
I think there's a .art you can get.
art. Maybe I will take that.
Top-level domain for the win.
Matt just doesn't like the NGO.
I agree
I
with
think
him.
it's confusing because culturally we're just so used to com, net, org, biz.
I agree with you.
Stands out.
Org was taken. I really wish it wasn't because that would have been the best. And .com I don't want to take because that implies a different kind of thing.
Private sector, yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely not private sector. And part of why
.net is like, what the hell, 1987.
Yeah, that's like Prodigy.
AOL.
CompuServe.net.
Yeah,
We're not going to do that.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
All right. Well, the book again is Her2 book, HER2 book.com.
Yep.
I love you guys.
Thanks, Matt. We love you
Thanks.
too.
Friends for life. I'm a coach. I'm a guide. I'm here for you. I want to support you. I'm sorry I'm sorry I got cancer to be here for you, when you needed me. But it was a privilege to be here to help you. And but you look great.
Thank you.
All right, Jordan, Anna, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Wow, he really wants to get rid of us.
I know he's done with
Yeah.
that
I know
stuff.
he's done. He's so
Out
done.
of my studio.
He's so done.
All right, bye, folks.
Bye.
Bye.
Out of Patience with Matthew Zachary is a production of Matthew Zachary Worldwide. The executive producer is Matthew Zachary. It is mixed and edited by Kyle Moore. If you like the show, ratings and reviews are always welcome wherever you get your podcasts. If you have guest suggestions or would like to learn more about sponsorship opportunities, email podcast@matthewzachary.com. For more information about Matthew Zachary and Matthew Zachary Worldwide, visit matthewzachary.com.